All right. If you're just now tuning in later on the replay, this is part 2. We had some video and audio difficulties, so we're starting up again, and we're here with appraiser Tom Horn, Birmingham appraiser. And Tom, again, welcome. And just get us caught up to date with who you are, where you're from, and that sort of thing.
Well, I originally grew up in Missouri, like I said earlier. I moved down to Florida after college, was in the loan business for a while, eventually got into the appraisal business, and I've been in it now for about 26 years now.
Wow, man, that's a long time to be in any one profession. And quite frankly, has it always been with the appraisal business where you are kind of your own boss? I mean, where you're making money only what you kill?
Right, yeah. I mean, I used to work, you have to work for an appraiser to become an appraiser. I worked for somebody in Panama City, and then I moved up here, worked for another company, and then I went out on my own. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the way it is. I mean, the work you get paid for.
Yeah, that's doing it.
Get.
Well, Trey, you got a fan right there in Trey Horton,
Trey,
a lender. Hey, how you doing, Trey? He says you're always trying to help everyone.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I mean, you can't help it, man. So.
I'm all about education. I like to educate people. Appraising is not the sexiest thing. But
I mean, I get it.
But
you're a numbers guy.
Yeah, but whenever you need an appraisal, you need the information, and that's what I try to do.
That's right. And a lot of times, unfortunately, you guys get a bad rap, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Well, back us up just a hair and talk about what an appraiser is and what you do every day.
Okay. An appraiser is a professional person that provides an opinion of value, an unbiased opinion of value,
okay.
And to either lenders, mortgage people, banks. I do work for insurance companies for losses. I do work for attorneys and agents.
I didn't think about that. So when you say losses, are you talking about like a house fire?
Right, yeah. Some, not a whole bunch of work there, but I have, appraised properties of what they would be worth prior to the loss, so the insurance company could make
have an idea.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's, that's good. And relative to what we do, how much interaction do you have? Who do you interact with in the real estate transaction?
Well, we get our appraisal order from the bank, and it changed a couple of years ago to where there's a middleman now from the appraisal management company, so we don't talk to the loan officer a lot because we can't.
Obama decided to cut y'all off.
Exactly, right, yeah.
I mean,
so so we're contacted by the appraisal management company to get the job, and then we contact the agent if it's a sale, and speak with you guys, or speak with not you.
Could be.
Yeah, could be. Speak with the agent when we're setting up appointments and getting information, that type of thing.
Gotcha. Well, that's awesome. And then Jenny Williams said to tell you hi.
Hey, Jenny, how's it going?
Yeah, Jenny, get ready to sell her house. Maybe you'll be the appraiser, right?
Yeah, I may be.
That's right. And, walk us through, there was some changes. What was that in 2011? Well, I don't remember the year they changed all the rules. But
yeah, it was the Home Valuation Code of Conduct, and that's where the appraisal management companies were brought into the picture. But the thing about
what does that mean?
The Home Valuation Code of Conduct. Well,
no. Let's go to these management companies.
The management company was supposed to be a layer of protection between the appraiser and the loan officer, so that we could not collude together to make properties, the values work.
Right.
Because there was a lot of fallout during the real estate recession, when properties came in and they couldn't sell them for what they said they were worth.
Right.
So that's just a layer of protection to where the appraisal management company was. They would contact us and provide that protection, but you really didn't have to do that. But banks wanted to take the monkey off their back so that they wouldn't get in trouble for anything. And
so their answer was to put somebody in between the lender and the bank. So when, let's say David he doesn't know, David Arnett from Mortgage Bank, let's say he orders an appraisal. He doesn't know necessarily that you're the appraiser, right? Even though he ordered it.
Correct. Each lender has a list of approved appraisers, and whenever he gets a job or whatever, he'll give it to whoever orders it, which is separate from himself, so there won't be any problems, like I said. And then they'll usually go in a rotation. So whoever's on their approved list, they'll just pick the one who's
when
coming
you
up
say
next.
It's in a rotation, it's not in a. He doesn't know the rotation. Oh, let me just wait one time and it'll get Tom.
To my knowledge, that's not the case.
To my knowledge,
I don't know.
That's right. David says that is true. And then, can a buyer pick the appraiser? Is that possible?
No. Like I said, it has to be done through the lender, with their approved appraiser. So the buyer can't have any say-so, because a buyer might pick a friend that's an appraiser.
No. Really?
It happens.
I'm sure.
But yeah, again, that's another protection from something like that happening.
Well, I mean, that is crazy. And talk about, in the process, what are your most, when you're going out to, so let's say you go out to my house today and you want to appraise it for the bank, what are the biggest considerations that the consumer should know that you're looking for?
The thing that we do, that we when we're there, we measure the house to get the square footage. Of course, they have no control over that because the house is what it is. But with that being said, they do have control over the condition of the house, and we do take that into consideration. So, we have to consider, what we call deferred maintenance. If something needs fixing, and when we're there, we have to report that. So that's factored into the value. So
and there's certain loan programs where you have to actually report, and it could become a condition to the contract.
Right. That's typically done more with FHA. FHA is concerned with the health and safety of the buyer, which would be...
I'm glad the government is so concerned.
Oh, yeah. So,
hey, Emily.
Michael.
They
require more, things to be fixed before closing than conventional.
Gotcha. And wow, so there's not much the consumer can do once you're there.
Right. They can provide us with information to help us do our job. They can tell
in what
us,
sense?
They can tell us what improvements they've made to the home over the past 5 or 10 years. Because within the appraisal report, we have to report if kitchens and bathrooms have been
updated.
Yeah.
Do you sometimes have to guess though? Because let's say you go into a certain neighborhood, do you kind of have an idea of what this neighborhood would typically say have as countertops? Or
Oh yeah. I mean, if you do enough work in a neighborhood or if you're familiar with the homes, you're going to know what typical finishes are. If you go into a neighborhood and it's they've put $50,000 into the kitchen, but it's a $50,000 neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Right.
With Formica countertops, and they've just spent too much money. I mean, you're going to know it, so.
What would you say is the biggest difference between a real estate agent? Because to the consumer, a lot of times, we're appraisers in their head. Oh, because we know what it'll sell for, maybe.
Right.
What is the biggest difference? And it's okay to say that you're smarter than us. That is fine. But what is the difference between what we do when we value a property versus what you do?
Right. Well, I think what you guys try to do is you try to sell it for the highest price that you can get, because that's your job for them, and that's what they want. But that has to be tempered with the appraiser who's unbiased. I mean, you guys are not unbiased, and that's okay.
I'm very biased, right?
Right.
I love my property.
Right, exactly. But the appraiser has to come in there, and they have to provide an unbiased opinion of value, because the bank wants to know that if they have to take that property back, what can they sell it for?
Right.
Yeah.
The way I've always looked at it is that I always say y'all come from an engineering-minded standpoint. Mm-hmm. We're agents are worried about the senses. How does it smell, feel, touch? Right. How does it sell to that consumer? Whereas y'all really don't give two hoots. About that stuff.
Well, and I think you mentioned this too. I mean, we're the numbers people. You're the touchy-feely people.
Yeah,
and
completely.
And that does. I think those things do have an effect on value, but it's just hard to quantify that. So if a home might sell towards the upper end of the range if it has those types of things. I mean, if things physical things have been done to the home, like updating, painting, and that type of thing. The smell of cookies in the oven ain't going to do anything.
No. In fact, I had one. Back in the saddle again. Hey, only 92 days until kickoff for the Auburn Tigers. That is right. War Eagle Chester. You're not an Auburn guy. Alabama. That's right. Well, I'm married to one. I can't get away. Except for David. David's a big Georgia Tech guy.
Right, I remember that, yeah.
Go Jackets. One thing I wanted to ask you, was how do y'all get your data? Because we get a lot of complaints from consumers sometimes that says that appraiser didn't take that house down the street, right? So, where do you get the data, and how do you compile it? And is there a special database that y'all have that we don't?
Okay. There's about 3 sources of data in the Birmingham area, and some other areas may have additional, but you usually have multiple listing service. You usually have public records, and Birmingham is kind of unique because I really haven't seen it anywhere else, but we've got a database that appraisers contribute to. So if I go out and do an appraisal on a property and measure it, I provide that information to this database because public records information is not always correct in square footages.
Not in Jefferson County. You're kidding me. Yes, Jefferson County, if you're watching, you're awful on that kind of thing.
Yeah. But so those 3 data sources, and we use, we get our information from that. And if a home has sold for sale by owner, and
that's a good question.
I always talk to the seller. I say, are there any homes in this neighborhood that you feel that that just sold that you feel may be similar to yours that was a for sale by owner? I can have access to the multiple listing and the database that I was talking about, but sometimes there's properties that sell that's if we have information like the address of the seller, we can look it up. So I always ask them if there's a home that they know of that But those 3 data sources are the,
so those are your main sources.
Yeah.
So what if a consumer needs to challenge? What are if they go, man, this guy has lost his mind.
Right.
He is wrong, and 9 times out of 10, y'all are right and they're wrong. But there are times where y'all miss something.
Right.
What is the best course of action for a consumer that wants to actually make an impact in terms of proving it to you without getting upset?
Right. Well, appraisers are humans too. We make mistakes.
No.
But if you want to challenge an appraisal, it's best to challenge it with factual information, such as maybe they did not include a room, or the square footage. Maybe you got an appraisal in the past and it was a certain square footage, and this appraiser
Was wrong.
Yeah, and which it can be. You get 5 appraisers out there; they're going to measure a house, and it's going to be 5 different.
I always say it's like going to a CPA, getting your taxes done. Give it to 5 CPAs. The bottom line number is never going to be the same.
Right. Well, people round when they're measuring a house, so that can
Absolutely.
be, or maybe they didn't include an additional acre that was on the property that may have been under another tax. I've seen it all under another tax parcel ID number. But with that being said, you should have something that's factual, that you can point to and say, well, that's not right. I have this. I have an extra bedroom where you didn't show one, or you didn't even include the basement.
Or would you say, Sue, sometimes where that consumer is wrong is in assuming something about a comp?
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say. I mean, if they have information about a sale that we used that they know is different, then they can address that, but they have to go through the lender. They can't come directly to me.
Well, they want to come to you.
Oh, I know. Well, if a homeowner or an agent wants to provide any information about a home, they need to do it up front so that it can be taken care of before the appraisal is turned in.
And quite frankly, y'all don't want to hear from the agent on that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, any information that they have that can help us do our job, like the updates. Either the homeowner or the seller could provide that information about the updates or renovations or whatever, or the agent could give it to us. Or if the agent did a CMA and they have sales, they can provide that to us. Not that I'm going to use it, because we have to qualify whether they're comps.
I'll be honest with you. There's some of them, David's telling his wife, hi. Hi, Courtney. That's funny. And D-Ham, how are you? Put on some Culture Club. Well, the beatbox that's normally here is not here. So we're going to bring him on in a minute. He's at the beach, David, so I apologize for not having, is that Boy George, right?
I think so,
yeah. Yacht Rock. He's listening to some Yacht Rock. Anyway, so let's talk about that. Now, one thing that we've done, in 2011, we really changed our business when we added professional photography to every listing. Didn't matter if it was a $500 listing or it was a $5 million listing. We did that, and we added pre-listing appraisals.
Yeah.
2 big things that, quite frankly, transformed our business. And talk to us about the benefits of a pre-listing appraisal in your mind to a person that's thinking about putting their house on the market.
Well, a pre-listing appraisal is good because it's going to kind of...
Your wife's here.
What's going on, Gina?
Make Tom sing.
The pre-listing appraisal is going to provide an accurate indication of value based on market data. So if it's done correctly, then there shouldn't be a problem with the value on the back end whenever the appraiser comes in for the mortgage company and does the appraisal there. The only difference might be a sale that occurred after that initial appraisal.
And in this market, it's going to be a better comp usually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And a way to get around that as well, whenever I do a pre-listing appraisal, I include active listings and pending sales as well. So those pendings could be actually closed by the time that
happens.
Yeah.
One thing that I was going to, share with you, is I've also called you on the backside when we've had trouble. We got the pre-listing appraisal done on the front side from you, and then on the backside we had some issues. Well, one of the benefits is that we can get you to call that other appraiser because he's going to listen to you. Mm-hmm. But everyone else is interested here.
Right.
They're an interested party.
Exactly.
And they're more likely to listen to you to say, hey, did you think about this?
Yeah.
Or that?
Well, I kind of tread lightly on that.
Yep.
Because, it's an opinion of value. The appraiser's opinion of value. So,
but in some of these areas, though, right, that we can go different ways and get a different number.
Sure, and that's what's important about an appraiser is that they have to have the knowledge of the area. I'm not so sure it's happening now as much as it was 3 or 4 years ago, but there were a lot of appraisers coming from out of the state to come over to do appraisals, and they would not have the correct data sources, the ones I told you about. They didn't know the area, and they could get the values off.
Well, I can tell you this. We had more trouble for a long time. There's a bank with the Stagecoach that's out there, right? Yeah. Their appraisers, they were literally bringing in appraisers from outside the area in an effort to really screw the consumer because they were making money off of what you were talking about was the appraisal management company.
Exactly.
Right? And they were really screwing you guys because they were trying to bring down y'all's revenue.
Right.
And so that caused us problems because you had someone that may or may not be a member of the MLS, which is kind of a vital tool from what you said.
Exactly. And if homeowners or sellers or agents need to be able to ask that appraiser, hey, have you appraised in this area? Do you have
I'm shocked.
Do you have the correct data sources?
Right.
And if the agent doesn't think, if they have a legitimate complaint about that appraiser that, hey, they come from out of the area, they don't know the area, then they might want to contact the lender and say, hey, can we get another appraiser? I highly recommend that. And that's not to say that some appraiser that lives out of the area may not work here all the time. That's different than somebody just coming over here for...
That's what was happening, though.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Yeah.
So, that's just... It's fascinating that... and one thing that we haven't seen amongst the appraisers... And granted, it's just like our profession or any profession, really. You get people at all stages of their career.
Right.
And you're actually very proactive into the community. Some of them want to lay low and not be heard from.
Right, yeah. And that's what I found. That's why, about 6 or 7 years ago, I started blogging because there was...
what's the name of your blog? I got to tell everybody know.
It's BirminghamAppraisalBlog.com, where I try to answer any question that can come up that agents have or lenders have or homeowners have. But we didn't do a good job of talking to, the owners or the agents and that type of thing. So you guys didn't understand how we did what we do.
No.
And so now,
you're about the only one, though, that is out there.
I try to talk to agent offices as much as I can. In order to explain to them and educate them on the appraisal process. And to be honest, agents, there's always kind of been this right here with agents and appraisers. But
I think so.
But with all the offices I've been to, you guys have just been so great about wanting to learn as much as you can. I haven't, had any hostility at all.
Well, we're okay with
fist fights.
Oh yeah, no, that's good because I'm a wuss. So I don't know if you need to be worried about me. But one thing I wanted to ask you, there's a perception out there that appraisers are the ones that are holding back because, quite frankly, the market is so hot that we're able to get stuff sold for more money than we ever have in terms of the list price.
Right.
And there are times. So the perception is that y'all are holding prices from being able to go a lot higher. What say you?
Well, the thing I have to say is that appraisers don't set values. They report values based on market data. And that's where our education, our experience, and knowledge of an area comes in. Whenever we do an appraisal... especially in an appreciating market, there's always the possibility that our data might lag behind the market.
Sure.
So to kind of get behind or around that, we use a minimum of 3 closed sales in an appraisal. But as I said earlier, I try to use listings and pendings. A pending sale where everything is, it's passed all the tests. The person's got approved, they got the appraisal, it's appraised, and they're just waiting on it to close.
And so that's a good sale.
Yeah, that is a good sale. A pending sale that just went on a contract last night is not. But
Wish it was.
Yeah, but the other pending is the best because it's like the hot pancake on the griddle. I mean, it's right there. It's what's happening right now. So we try to temper that with the closed sales to come up with a value, and appraisers are getting more into looking at large sums of data, market data, through the use of Excel spreadsheets and regression analysis where we can see trends.
So will you give the benefit? Because I think the consumer doesn't understand.
Yeah.
If we're only looking backwards,
Yeah.
how we're ever going to go forwards.
Yeah.
So where is that forward in your mind? In other words, if I have a house, it's 300, and quite frankly, if no one can go above that,
Yeah.
right? Because we can't look back.
Yeah.
How is that next one going to 305?
Right. Well, it's important to be able to look at what is happening in the market, which is where you guys come in. Because if a homeowner has, they say they want a certain price, but you say that ain't going to happen, then
say that all the time.
Yeah, then that's what you need to do. But the price has to be set based on supply and demand. So it's okay to set the price at a certain level if the data is showing that it's trending upwards. And I think a lot of times that...
Can you apply a rate to that?
Oh, yeah.
And say, we'll give it 5% because of...
Well, we can, but that has to be based on market data, trend line analysis whenever we're looking at past sales.
Do you submit that to whoever you're talking to?
Yeah. I mean, if we make a positive adjustment for a change in the market, then we have to notate that within the appraisal.
This is really interesting because I don't think most people know that y'all can do that.
But something that I want to point out, and that I know that you guys weren't aware of, or at least some people that I've spoken to, is that it's helpful to submit pending contracts on the same property. Like if I'm doing an appraisal on a property, if they have 3 or 4 backup contracts, that's showing demand for that property.
No idea that was possible. Because we've had 3, 4, 5 contracts. So in other words, let us help you.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's that's hard information. It's just not hearsay, because if you've got the contracts to back it up and you can show that to us, then that, if when we come in at the upper end of the range, if that contract is at the upper end of the range, then that's going to provide information to help us support that value.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. And then talk to me a little bit about the impact that if you go into a community and there's a lot of rentals in particular neighborhoods, because we're hearing from consumers that are saying, man, we just don't like, they're going to bring the value of our neighborhood down.
Right.
Are they really bringing the value of the neighborhood down from a economic standpoint? We don't have to talk about the impact, of beer cans and everything else in the front yard, but that can happen to a homeowner. So, what's the impact?
But that has to be proven in the market. We can't just say, well, it's going to bring property values down. That's just like saying that a suicide in a home is going to bring its value down. Because that's a great point. I had a situation like that where that was not the case. We have to have market evidence to support that. Another thing is like a home located next to railroad tracks. The
David's asking, so backup contracts do help.
Oh yeah. I mean, that provides information that we can go on to help support that higher value. That along with all the other information. We really don't want to base a value on one one segment of information. We have to, include it all and look at the whole the whole scope,
the whole body of work here, if you will.
Exactly, yeah.
So what other things? Is there anything like that else that can
help? A lot of times people limit their definition of a neighborhood to 1 or 2 blocks, around their house.
Who does that? When you say who does that?
Owners and agents, because agents have said, well, there's no comps. And I said, well, you're going to have to go to another place, what we call a competitive market area, meaning that if there was no home in this neighborhood, where would that buyer go? They might go, 4 blocks away because, it's the same school system. It's in a similar location to their work.
Are you now, because I think what we're used to is the criteria being a half mile or so as a crow flies. But can you go beyond that if it's justified?
You can, and I do. I have. I mean, I can go, a mile away, and a lot of times those really aren't Fannie Mae guidelines. They're lender guidelines. Lenders don't want you to go too far away. But if there are no sales within a neighborhood, you can go about a mile away or wherever it's at as long as it's what we call a competitive market area and a buyer would typically go there. Now, I always give this example that an area right outside of Mountain Brook that's in the county, different school system, pretty nice houses, but, one block over, you couldn't use a comp there because it's Mountain Brook. So, you have to know.
It's where the rich people live, in case you're wondering.
But you have to know where to be able to look. So if the high price in your subdivision is only at a certain amount, but maybe a mile away in another neighborhood, but it's within that competitive market area that's higher, you can use sales from within there to support that higher value.
Gotcha. Wow. I mean, this is fascinating. And, one thing I wanted to ask you before, David Arnett, get ready. I'm about to come to you for you to ask a few questions to Tom. But, what is the difference between a good appraiser and a bad appraiser?
Well, I don't think any appraiser sets out to be bad, but again, like I said, an appraiser is only as good as the data that they have. So an appraiser must subscribe to sources of data that they find accurate. So like I was saying about the people coming in from out of town,
sure.
They were coming out, into this area. And this was when everything was kind of slowing down. They came over here because there wasn't work wherever they were at. But they have to know the area. They have to have accurate data sources. And so I think an appraiser has to know their limitations. So if you're not qualified,
exactly. They need to be telling people.
Right. I'm licensed in the state of Alabama, but I would never appraise down in Mobile because I don't know the area.
Yeah.
I only do where my data sources are. Around the metro Birmingham
and you've been
area.
good about telling us when you weren't comfortable with a certain type of property.
Right.
I
mean, exactly. It takes a certain expertise, to appraise 1,000 acres or a farm that's an income-producing farm or something like that.
Absolutely. Well, let's see if David's got anything. See if David's coming on board. Thanks, everybody, for staying with us. And this is part B. We obviously got started and weren't able to keep that feed, so we're back. So let's see if we can get him added. He's probably no telling what he's doing. David, put the clothes back on. There he is. There he is. Oh, you're in the water now.
Oh yeah, we're in the water. I had to bring it to you from the pool. We got the crowd behind us. So Tom, tell me this. I know you got a lot of. What's that?
You have a bunch of balls behind you.
Yeah, these the Seacrest beach balls. They're pretty famous. They got a lot of rules down here, by the way. I'll tell you that. You're not supposed to have your own toys in the pool, but they give you a bunch of beach balls, so that's good stuff.
Hey, David, do you have any questions for Tom?
Yeah, Tom, how do we deal with this? We got multiple offers, and obviously we've got a bunch of demand for houses. Are you guys able to factor that in to the price? Just because, we got a bunch of buyers going in above list price, but that doesn't mean that's where the property is going to appraise for, right?
Well, Colin and I was just talking about that. If you have a property and you have multiple contracts on it, that information you can provide to the appraiser to help support that higher value. And we don't just look at that, but it's a piece of the puzzle we can use to help us tell the story of the value of that property. So we can consider those multiple offers, and it's good for the agent or anybody else that has access to that to provide that to the appraiser.
That makes sense. So tell me, what's the toughest type of property to appreciate in this type of market? Condominium, farm, townhouses?
Well, it's going to be the properties that are unique, because there's the demand for those are not as great as the the homes that are typical of the different places. There's a lot of activity, condo activity downtown, so that market's doing pretty good and getting pretty good appreciation. And just any area that has a lot of similar housing is going to be, appreciating a lot better than the unique properties.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, guys, I wish y'all could be down here with me. This is it's a lot of fun out here.
It's good. Hey, by the way, Ben just turned out the lights on us again.
What's that?
Ben turned out the lights.
Oh, okay.
Apparently it's 5 o'clock.
Yeah, if you just move around, they'll come back on.
Hey, there we go. But anyway, man, say, what else you got for us?
Man, just this area down here is a lot of fun. In between Rosemary and Alice Beach. Hope you guys get to come down here and check it out. It's just past Panama City. There's a lot of houses that are not on the beach, which is kind of interesting. Kind of like the situation here with the pool, and it's a little drive to the beach or take a tram to the beach. But I don't know, it's just an interesting, cool little area. A lot of fun.
Hey, Michael Bruno says he wants you to show Courtney.
I think Courtney is. I think she's over there underneath the umbrella, getting
In
some
the shade.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we'll see everybody same time, same place next week, won't we?
You guys have a beautiful week.
You too, man. Have fun.
All right.
All right. See you later. All right, and let's bring us back here. Tom, we really do appreciate you coming in with us today.
Yeah. If anybody has any questions, they can contact me. They can look for my blog. They can call.
And what's your website?
It's BirminghamAppraisalBlog.com.
And phone number?
It's 205-243-9304.
All right. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Y'all have a great week.
Thanks
Talk
a
to you
lot.
soon. Bye.